welcome. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Rock Fantasy Files. This is one of our episodes where we're talking about albums celebrating milestone anniversaries. And tonight we're doing it in kind of our album war format that we kind of stole from Pete Pardo and the Sea of Tranquility channel. Hudson Valley Square started this. We've been doing it a little bit too. Tonight we're talking about two albums that are celebrating their 25th anniversary in the year of 2022. It's Immortal with Blizzard Beast, the fourth studio album from Immortal. It's also the last to feature founding member Demonize until the Northern Chaos Gods in 2018. And we were talking about Emperor, Anthems to the Welkin at Dusk, which is the second studio album released on July 8th of 1997. I messed up. I didn't give us the actual release date of the Immortal Blizzard Beast. Boy, I'm slipping tonight. So
February 24th.
Okay, you got that.
March, wasn't it?
Only because I looked before.
Nick is our guy that looks up stuff. If we need it looked up, he's gonna dig it right up. So that album was recorded in Greg Hall in Bergen, Norway. The album's musical approach is explained on the back cover with a quote that reads, "Emperor performs sophisticated black metal art exclusively." I think the Immortal Emperor album is almost like one of the most perfect black metal albums. Me revisiting this week, I can't stop listening to it. Not that I don't like the Blizzard Beast too. I love that album also because I'm a giant fan of Abbott and Immortal. So we're going to kick this off tonight. I've asked all my guests to pick 3 songs from each album, their favorite 3 songs from each album. Give the album a rating between 1 and 10. And we're going to go around to each guest tonight, and we're going to talk about both albums in each square so we don't go around again. It makes it flow a little bit easier. And I think we're going to kick off with Mr. Ryan Scow. I've stole some people here. We've got some new people. Let me introduce everyone before we start. I've actually got someone here from Norway who's a big fan of the Rock Fantasy Files and the Sea of Tranquility channel, Ove Rendum. Am I pronouncing it correctly? I hope. We've got Miles Berggren. He has a YouTube channel he's going to tell you a little bit about later on. He's also first timer on the Rock Fantasy Files. We got Andrew Palo down on the bottom. His screen is black right now, but he's on with us. He's a great customer of my brick and mortar Rock Fantasy store here in Middletown. And I stole from the Sea of Tranquility, of course, 2 of my longtime friends that do many, many shows together over the years. Ryan Scow up in the corner, who we found out has a meaning in Scow, what it means in Norwegian. Ove can tell us about that during the episode. We got Nicholas Franco down here, and we got Count Ralphus, of course, one of the regulars on the Rock Fantasy Files, and we're expecting Steve Levin on the episode tonight too. So we're going to kick this thing off, and I'm going to throw it, and of course I'm Steve Keeler, the Rock Fantasy Man. So I'm kicking this off to Ryan Scow, and he is going to start this thing off. Let's see.
All right. I had to find this picture. I've got to see if we can zoom in. That's me outside Grieg Hall and Studio in Bergen, Norway.
Nice.
In 2018. That's where a lot of these Burzum, Mayhem, Emperor, a lot of these bands recorded this stuff. Their old albums. But we're going to start with Immortal. So Blizzard Beast, they always had kind of like, I always thought they went the Kiss way with always having photos of the band, which not a lot of black metal bands did, but Immortal always did. And man, I tell you, I was listening to this album a lot recently when Steve invited me on. And I always thought, if you ask me like, what are your top 5 favorite black metal bands? I don't think I'd ever pick Immortal. And like, I don't have any Immortal shirts or any Immortal patches. Wow. Every time I put an Immortal album on, I tell you, every time I put an Immortal album on, I'm like, man, they really are like everything they did was so good. And this was, like Steve said, this was the last one with Demonize on guitar because he got bad tendonitis, I believe. Yeah. And he couldn't play guitar for years until he had surgery. Now he's fortunately back. He was on their reunion the new album they did. But the guitars on this album are great, and it's a lot rawer than some of their other stuff they did. Some of the later stuff was a little cleaner, which I love. I love the nasty like raw sound on this. How freaking fast it is. The title track, obviously, Mountains of Might. Frost Demon Storm. It's like one of the fastest black metal tracks I think to come out of Norway in the '90s. Just freaking relentless. Nebula Ravens Winter. So man, this album is great. I don't know if I put it as one of my favorite Mortal albums. I think Pure Holocaust and Battles in the North, the tour before this, is still they
Okay.
still win that for me. And Harder to or actually what was the my brain's not working here. Their last album before they broke up, Sons of Northern Darkness. That's it. Yeah, that one too. But man, I put this album on. I haven't heard it in a while. I actually bought this from Steve's store a while ago. And yeah, this album just kicks ass. It really does. It kicks ass. It's really fast. It's to the point. It's short. It doesn't waste any time. Doesn't have any
Very
necessarily long. Yeah, no real long intros or outros. The songs don't waste a lot of time. But I don't know. I give this one an 8 out of 10. I really, really like this album a lot.
Okay.
And now that said, this was the first Anthems by Emperor. Is the first black metal album I ever got in my life.
Wow.
In 1998. So I graduated high school in 2000. I'm a little younger than some folks, a little older. Some folks, a little, right in the middle. But yeah, I don't even remember how this came about because the artwork, it's cool, but it's really like it's very dark and muddy. It's a little hard to see. And so it's not like artwork that immediately draws you in. Although you can spend a lot of time staring at it, like trying to like figure what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
So the vinyl version obviously easier to see, but when I was a teenager, I had the CD, so I'm just trying to stare, well, there's like a castle and a tower, and a lot of demons, and it's hard to like pick details out. But man, this album is really special to me. The first time I heard this, you have Alstafar, the Oath, that intro. The owls, it has this very ominous, like deep wood sound. It's great. Then Ian Transiparium comes on, that iconic opening riff that Euronymous from Mayhem wrote for the band, gave to them, that opened the song up just immediately. Every song I hear. I don't think I could pick 3 songs off this album because if I put this album on, I got to listen to it all the way through.
Oh yeah.
I can't be doing anything else. It's not like a background album. It's like headphones on, or I got to be walking somewhere. Or in the car, but I can't just have it like in the background. It's just, I don't know. To me, there are days when I consider this my favorite black metal album. Depends on my mood, but yeah. If I had to pick 3, obviously, In Trance, Imperium, Thus Spake the Night Spirit, The Acclamation of Bonds, Strength I Burn. I really can't. It's just so good. Obviously, this is the old drummer Faust was out. Tierm was in as the new drummer, coming over from Enslaved. Did a great job on the drums on this album. It's just absolute thunderstorm of drums. It's a little less like the first album, and there's some of the early EPs. Wrath of the Tyrant is a little more ominous, evil sounding, especially like the early stuff. This isn't really an evil album. It's very majestic. It's very big. This was it's very. It says on the back, Emperor performs sophisticated black metal art exclusively. So it's very like kind of full of itself but in a good way. And
it is.
It's like it sets the bar high and it meets it. It accomplishes everything it set out to do. And these guys were really young when they wrote this stuff too. It's not like they were an older band. They were still really young, and when they put this together, and man, this is a 10 out of 10 out of 10 from now to the end of time. This album is just perfect. So for me, the winner is definitely going to be Emperor. I can't even say, I listened to this album the other day to kind of like reacquaint myself, because I've been listening to this weekly since it came out. I bought this in like 1998. Yeah, since I listen to this all the time, everywhere. I love this album. I'll always find time to put it on, and it's a perfect album. It's only gotten better with time. So many details in the sound. The more you hear it, the more it you're like, oh man, I didn't even notice that little cool detail before. The first 8 billion times I heard it, but it's just that kind of album. And yeah, so I'm definitely going with Emperor on this one. As much as I love the Immortal, this album is absolutely perfect. So for me, it's going to be Emperor. And,
originally I wasn't going to do this as an album war, but I think it's fun to talk about both of them, and it's and I didn't want to like choose sides on either one because they're both different albums. But it's fun to combine this and talk about both, since they're both 25 years old and both two of the one of the black metal releases from that time.
As much as I like the Immortal, I like Emperor so much. The first tattoo I ever got actually was
there you go,
from In the Nightside Eclipse, the Gustav Doré thing. So yeah, that's how big of an Emperor fan I am. So definitely Emperor for me.
Okay, cool. So, looks like we're having our final special guest hopping into the room, and we'll let him come in now. And then we're gonna pop over. Look who it is. He's here. Mr. Steve Levin, longtime employee of Rock Fantasy, is joining us, the brick and mortar store here in Middletown, New York, of course. And actually, since we're doing an album, we're doing an episode on Norway, we have a Norwegian that stayed up all night long to join us here as we're filming this on the East Coast near New York City. So Ove Rendum is a big fan of Sea of Tranquility and Rock Fantasy Files, and it's an honor to have you on the first time on the channel.
Thank you.
So let's kick everything over to you, and let's hear your point of view on these two albums.
I'll see if I can get into a New York groove.
Ace Frehley's not on this episode.
Well, I remember buying Immortal, the Blizzard Beast album. I was on a class trip in high school with my class over at Sweden, and I found a record shop, and I found Blizzard Beasts with the embossed plastic cover, and I found the Dem Scar with Monumental Possession and Enslaved with Eld. All those three albums came out that year, so I was like, I was so big for me. I remember because I've been into black metal for a while, and I started with Immortal, by the way, because I've heard the three first albums, and I knew that there was rumors that the drums were speeded up a bit. Abbott didn't really play that fast. So, but this album, I feel with Horgan and drums, that it has more even drums with the rest of the music. It's not like. So it's a much better sounding album in a way that when it's recorded, it has more structure. I know Battles in the North is like, but it's like there's a difference there because of the upspeeding of the drums. I feel there is this kind of a strange thing to the sound. But Blizzard Beast was like, wow, I'm a Demonas fan, so for me it was kind of sad afterwards. So I picked Battlefields as my number 3 song because I like that kind of like hurricane triple pick riff. Like vroom, vroom. You get that like you're in a hurricane blast with a triple pick from Demonas. And the sound is kind of like you're hearing it through a storm because you just hear the high notes. You don't really hear like the full guitar, it's just like you hear it through a blizzard, which I think is really cool with the album. And I also chose the Demon Storm number 2 because it's faster than, like Ryan said, it's faster than the most. Also, I picked Sunset Below as my number 1 because it's so good. It has so many different things in it, and it's that melody is just bam. You can probably figure out I'm Demonas fan because all my songs is Demonas songs. So I will give this album a 9 out of 10 because I feel it's kind of has a little prog in it too because it's more technical than the previous albums, and you have like blistering sound, and then suddenly you get like a break. You're in a cave, and then you go to mountain into the wind again. So yeah, I'll give this album 9 out of 10 because the only reason why I'm not giving it 10 out of 10 is because I feel it's so short. It's like it's over before it starts.
Yeah,
that's all it gets me.
It's like 29 minutes long.
Yeah, it's like Rain and Blood. Like
Rain and Blood, yeah.
And you're good to go. As of Emperor, I'm an Emperor fan, but I kind of fell off the tracks after Night Ahead of Clips because my older fans, they said that, oh, this is like perfect sounding. It's like it's socialized. They have gotten like, what's it called when you get too civilized? It's like civilized black metal. So it was like, I never heard it like until Steve picked it up and asked me yesterday if I wanted to join the show, and I was like, holy, or I should say unholy.
Unholy fuck.
Yep, or something like that, because it's like it got so much stuff in it. I was like just sitting there and like have to listen to it more and more, and I'm like,
Yes.
layers come on and on and on, and I'm like, yeah. So I set when string with strings I burn number 3, and I set the acclamation of bonds number 2,
Mhm.
and yeah, entrance imperium number 1 to tribute to Uranus, because it's Uranus, so it has to be number 1. Because hasn't it been for Uranus, there will be no Norwegian black metal. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
but I will
And-
definitely listen to this album a lot more now.
Mm. It's all about discovering good music, and sometimes,
Absolutely.
especially these episodes when we're going back, there's some stuff that sometimes you haven't picked up in a few years, and you really got to sit and listen to the album, where you may have just popped it on at work or something, and you just hear it. Now you're sitting and kind of studying it for the episodes.
So
What
I got to
how
give it.
you gonna give that OV 1 to 10?
Since I haven't listened so much to it, I will I will say 8 out of 10, so Ryan won't come over and kick my ass.
Well, it's cool you finally heard it too, because I've been listening to it for a long time, but better late than never. It's a good album.
I was to a Megadeth concerts. I've been like standing like 2 meters from Faust, like after he got out of prison and stuff. So I've made him by passing. So
Okay.
So you're picking Immortal for the win, Ovi?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
because it's out of honesty, because it's what I've listened to. I haven't listened enough to Emperor, so I don't feel like
Mm-hmm.
you have to go with your heart. It's
Yes.
the
Of
only
course.
thing to do.
All right, so we got 1 vote for Immortal. And where exactly in Norway are you joining us from tonight? I know we talked off before we started gut taping for the audience and for the viewers.
The town is called Verdal, and it's where the famous Norwegian Viking king Olav the Holy was slain in 1030. But it's close to Trondheim, like an hour drive north.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks for your input, and we'll round around back. And I'm going to pick another person that's never been on the Rock Fantasy Files, but has been in Rock Fantasy probably more than I have in the last 2 years. It's Andrew. Andrew, how are you doing? And Andrew, you have a podcast also you were talking about with me on the internet, and maybe you can fill the viewers in on the podcast if you're still got that going up. And how do I pronounce your last name? Paleo?
Paleo.
Paleo. Okay. So
I flip to page 3.
welcome to the Rock Fantasy Fellows, Andrew.
Thank you very much, Steve. Now I'd like to talk about the podcast that I do for a bit. I usually interview musicians from the underground,
Mm-hmm.
mostly unknown musicians and all that stuff. I've interviewed people like Terry from Grief. I've interviewed Lou Spencer from Montecore. I've interviewed a lot of people so far.
Okay.
It's called Into the Underground, and it's on my Facebook. So you could, I'll send you a link to it later.
Yeah, I'll put a link to your Facebook page in the show notes. Okay. So guys
All
can
right.
find you. Cool. So let's
So-
put
In
your
the underground. That's
let's-
respect.
yes, cool. We do that with everyone. So Andrew, let's talk about what you think about these 2 releases.
So with Immortal Blizzard Beats, it actually took me a while to hear the album, because I was actually first turned off by it because of the production. I'm like, damn, it's not that good. To me, it originally sounded stiff and all that kind of stuff. But I've originally, kind of grown to like it a bit. There's a lot of shreddy kind of, like Ove said, more technical riffing in there. But it's no like pure Holocaust. It's no pure diabolical full moon mysticism, but it's still an Immortal album. And what that means is that there's a lot of tight, more triumphant rhythms in there, as well as a lot of melodies that are just demon as his craft. It's just untouchable.
Mm.
on there.
Hell yeah.
And with if I had to choose the top 3 songs, it would be Battlefields #3.
Yeah.
Number 2 would be Nebula's Raven's Winter.
Good pick.
Number 1 is Mountains of Might. Mountains of Might is so good.
Yeah.
Especially like that little break with the clean guitar and all that stuff.
It's so Abbott. That's Abbott. 100% Abbott.
Mm.
Yeah, and I didn't hear the rumors that they started up, that they sped it up till later, and I'm like, did they really sped it up? Is my life a lie?
That's a rumor a long time now. Who even knows if it's true?
If what?
If they sped up the drums, if they're
Yeah,
artificially.
on Battles on the North, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure because they had Hellhammer to play live because it's the only drummer that could play that speed really in real life.
They also had a live drummer for Pure Holocaust, and he was Borgnagard's original drummer, as well as
Yeah.
he also drummed in a Gorgoroth.
Yep.
He sadly took his own life, but he is to me one of the most underappreciated black metal drummers ever. Like, you need to hear the first 3 Borgnagar albums. You need to hear Under the Sign of Hell to
Mhm.
understand how much this guy ruled.
He was one of a kind. He was a titan when it comes to black metal drumming. Eric
Yeah.
Brothership was they made that festival in Bergen. I made probably Ryan and Nicholas went to Hole in the Sky. That was dedicated to him. That
Oh,
festival.
cool. And we went to
Those festivals.
we're going to Beyond the Gates, but yeah, also that's also in Bergen. Yeah, but the Hole in the Sky was cool too. That was always a cool fest. Good lineup.
That was dedicated to Grim. It was started after he passed
Oh,
away.
Cool. So Andrew, what kind of number are you going to give Blizzard Beast?
I'm gonna give this an 8. The production's not really doing it for me, but it's black metal. It's still got the riffs.
Mm-hmm.
Uncivilized metal.
All right.
So,
Cool.
for Anthems of the Welkin, in terms of studio albums, this is my favorite Emperor.
Okay.
There's a lot of more like kind of winding melodies here, but it's still like more chaotic than in this Night Side of Eclipse. Like in the Night Side of the Eclipse is more about the atmosphere. This is more about the guitar work and all that kind of stuff. So I'm losing my track of thought here. My bad.
That's
So
fine. You're
there's-
talking about the Emperor. Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah, Emperor is one of the most like beloved bands, and they're actually my top 2 black metal bands.
mm-hmm.
So it's kind of hard to talk about them because there's
Mm-hmm.
a lot that has been said about it.
They just so
So-
damn good.
Yeah.
And what are your 3 favorite tracks from the album, Andrew?
Well, my favorite 3 favorite tracks from the album. This was so hard. Because
Yeah.
there's so many great tracks on here. Like the entire album is like just a fantastic like experience. Like you
It is.
have I'm gonna try my best to make my 3 favorite albums. Not my 3 favorite albums.
3 favorite
My
songs.
favorite
We got you. We got you.
All right. So number 3 is in Scrolled in Chaos or Scrolled by Chaos.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
Like just such slick melodies in there, just thriving and just
Yeah.
it's just so good.
It is.
Number 2 is what was it called? Was it Thus Have I Spoken? No, it was Loss of Revenant.
Number 5.
Loss of
The
Lots of
curse,
Curse of Reverence.
The loss
Yeah.
and curse of reverence. Yes, yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah.
especially love the keyboards in that
Amazing.
song. Like just how it's almost like a perfect song for Halloween in a way.
Yeah.
It came out as an
Just
EP
how-
before the album.
Just how bright and
Mm-hmm.
like yet spooky they are.
Yeah.
But again, riffs make the songs,
It's a great song.
And number one is Emperors, and I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm just gonna call it track one, and I actually lump in the intro track with that one because I was re-listening to this earlier today, and
Mhm.
I originally would skip over the first track, but the first track to me is like a prelude to that.
It is.
Like,
It is. I thought the same way, Andrew. Yes.
yeah, because it like starts off all quiet, but like it progressively kind of builds up these layers of instrumentals and all that kind of stuff
Mhm.
before it hits you with this massive drum fill by Tier, and then there's the riff that Uranus had written for the album,
Yeah.
and it was originally on a Mayhem song. I forgot what it was, but it was actually on a Mayhem song, demo,
Mm.
I believe. And then, just goes into this riff salad. There's no other way I could say this, but it's
Mhm.
that song is just a riff salad. Like there's so many riffs that are just so flavorful. You get so many kinds of, just
Yeah.
satisfying kinds of guitar leads, melodies, rhythms, just all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm. That's great stuff. And yeah, you're talking about the second actual song as the E Entrance Imperium, correct, Scal?
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it. for the life of me.
Yeah. Well,
I got trouble pronouncing it too.
I had to cut it up and have it spelt out for me, but I think that was one of the songs that Ryan picked also, wasn't it, Ryan?
It's the best song on the album for me too.
Yeah. So Andrew, what kind of number are you going to give this album?
An 11 out of 10.
All right, so you're giving it an
No, it's
11
a
out of
10.
10, and it's slightly.
No, it's a 10 out of 10. But I think that all Emperor albums are a 10 out of 10, to be honest. They're
Cool.
my second favorite black metal band, and my first one is Mayhem.
Good choices, man. Good choices. Mayhem's coming around in state soon with Watain. So, well, Andrew, so Andrew, you're picking. So we got another vote for Emperor. So it's Emperor 2-1 right now over Immortal. And Andrew, everyone can make sure to check out his podcast, and I'll put the links in the description of the video on YouTube. And anything else you'd like to add, Andrew, before I hop over to somebody else?
Tears better than Frost.
Cool, man. So thanks for joining us on here tonight, and hang out and listen to what everybody else has got to say. And we're gonna pop over to Count Ralphus, our local metal historian. And Ralph sometimes has to do 2 episodes. Now he only had to do 1, so he doesn't have to redecorate the wall behind him, because he always does a great job and looks forward to putting all these props up. I can see Emperor shirts hanging up, and I can see Immortal merchandise hanging up in the background. So it looks great.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
the Abbott snow globe. I thought I had one of those. I probably sold you that. I don't. How the
Yeah,
fuck?
I got.
Where the hell is mine? I don't know where mine is. I have the bobblehead. Yes, those are still available at Rock Fantasy, actually.
Yeah, mine's upstairs in the living room. Proud display.
You have the snow globe too, right? You were working there when I had
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, how did I not bring one of those home? That's crazy.
I don't know.
If I do, it's probably here somewhere.
You might just not know where it is. You got so much stuff out like me. It's hard to find stuff sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. So cool, man. So welcome, Ralph. What's happening?
Thanks for having me. All right, to start off, I just want to say, like, this was my favorite era of black metal. At the time, people were saying grunge killed metal, but anybody in the underground and in extreme music, everything was exploding, especially in black metal.
Yes.
And I was really into the scene at the time. I seen Immortal when they came to the States. I got a picture with Demon Oz and Abbott.
That. And
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Is that a Gorgoroth shirt you have on?
Huh?
Is that a Gorgoroth shirt you have on?
A Rush shirt.
No, a Gorgoroth.
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 No, he has a Blizzard piece.
I got the original Blizzard Beast long sleeve
Mm-hmm.
that came
No, no.
back in the 90s.
On the picture, he refers to the picture.
Oh, he's
Yeah,
talking
I'm
about
referring
on the photo. What are they wearing?
Oh yeah,
What?
yeah. A Demon Oz is wearing a Gorgoroth shirt.
Yes. Yeah.
Ooh. Of course, supporting your locals.
That was that photo was taken at the March Metal Meltdown at
March Metal
Asbury
Meltdown.
Park Convention Hall. Yeah, I was there.
Yeah.
I remember them playing at like fucking 2 in the morning or something, 3 in the morning. It was like, it was a long day. It was like an all day festival, and we were there way late at night to see them. If I'm not mistaken,
Yeah, they were,
So
this
it's like a
was
Milwaukee Metal
same
Fest.
night. This was on the
Well,
same night.
that's on YouTube, isn't it?
go ahead, Ralph.
This was year 2000 when they played.
Yeah.
And I believe it was the first time they came to the States.
I
And
think it was.
the sound live that night was plagued with equipment failure. With like the sound kept cutting out. It was kind of disappointing. But earlier in the day, like Steve said, they went on so late that they were just hanging out at the bar like the whole time, and I recognized them. No one seemed to recognize them. They were just hanging out drinking. They were really cool. So yeah, I got Blizzard Beast right when it came out. This is the original CD version where the logo is raised on there. I don't know if that comes off on there.
Yeah, you
Rose
kind of
color,
see
that's
it.
I
Yeah.
got too.
And so yes, for 3 songs, I got I'll start with number 3, Nebula Raven's Winter.
Yeah.
Then
Good choice.
number 2, Frost Demon Storm. And number 1, Mountains of Might. And it's kind of funny for such an evil band, like they sing more about nature than anything else. And
Mhm.
as far as the band for the winter, I mean, the name of the album is Blizzard Beast. They got 2 other song titles with winter in the title. They got songs about mountains, storms, and suns. You know, there's more about nature than Satan. But it's
Snow and
a
ice.
great atmosphere, real brutal, fast drumming, and like everybody had already said,
Always
this-
like that about Immortal.
Mm.
I give this
Always
album
liked it.
a 9 out of 10. It's not
Okay.
my favorite in the middle, but it for 97, it was a great thing that when it came out.
Mm.
For Emperor, my number 3 be Dusk Fate the Night Spirit. Then the song they had the video for, The Loss and Curse of Reverence,
Ah.
which was a great video at the time.
Yep.
And people forget, like the metal magazines at the time, they always put down black metal bands, but this was the first album that really started getting praise from a lot of the metal magazines, and the whole metal community like really started waking up when this album came out. My number 1 is the Al Salvador, The Oath, the atmospheric ominous intro to Ye and Transuperium.
Yep.
The way it starts off, it just sets the atmosphere for the album. And
Yep.
I love the use of keyboards. It doesn't weaken the songs because the drums are blasting the whole time. And the keyboards just give it more of a atmosphere to the whole thing. I got to see Emperor. They played July 1999 at the Tramps with Borknagar opening up
Wow.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
at Tramps. I think it was their first time coming to the States too.
Yeah, I
It's the only
wasn't.
time I ever. I got pictures from the show, but I didn't get to meet them. But I met the Borknagar guys that night. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think this is probably my favorite album, black metal album of the 90s. I give it a perfect 10. I never would skip any songs on it. Great all the way through. So many unique riffs going on, and the drumming is brutal and fast, and I just really love this album.
Yep.
And Yeah, so my vote goes for Emperor.
Cool. Now, Ralph, did you go to see Emperor? They played at BB King's. I went to that show. I think Scal and Nick probably were there.
That
I've
was
been,
the-
yeah, I went to all of those shows, the 99, 2005 and 6 and 7.
They played there a couple times, right? The one time they played Samoth wasn't allowed in the States, right?
Yeah. So they came back the next year and he was with them.
That's
Yes.
right. Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to mention those shows back then, because we've got Pardo used to even go to those shows with us at that time. I can remember eating like at a bar before the show for that one. So,
Yeah, him and Kent Sanford.
oh yeah, wow. Remember that
Yeah,
guy?
I remember that.
Hmm?
I got
Probably-
a picture of all of us
probably
hanging
had-
out before the Emperor show.
We
And,
probably had we probably had Reed St. Mark with us too.
Yeah, we remember that we went to that cheesesteak place on 9th Ave.
Yes.
Steve.
Yeah, there
I
was
got
a
a picture-
photo we took there. Yeah, yeah,
I got that picture somewhere of like all of us hanging out beforehand. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a while
Mhm.
ago.
yeah. Yeah, it seems like yesterday though, doesn't it? We were just sitting in there. Guy
Yeah.
really
It was a
does.
while ago.
It was. Time flies. All right, Ralph. Well,
Oh.
thanks for your input. And we got another vote for Emperor, which I kind of felt was gonna go that way, even though Blizzard is such a great album. But everybody's giving Blizzard's like a 9, 9.5, but Emperor's just sliding in with a half a point or so over everybody. Well, except for Andrew, he gave it 11. And yeah, giving an album an 11 is fine because that means you really like it. Yeah, that's good.
It's
So,
a
I love, I
civilized
love
album.
anthems. What can I say?
It's great. Great. I'd give it
It's
an
a
11
civilized
too.
album.
I should also say towards Ralph, it's funny you mentioned that like Immortal's like more about nature, you know, for such a brutal, relenting band. I think Immortal in general kind of gets this reputation for being, you know, a more wholesome band than the others, especially like in Norway when you have people like Faust and Varg Vikernes who are routed in controversy for
Mhm.
many reasons and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Whereas Abbott and, you know, Demonized here are just kind of like making this music that they love and all that kind of
Mhm.
stuff.
Good point.
Like
They're kind of in the same camp as Enslaved, you know. They are like just
Yes. Good point. Yeah.
And like I said, I've always liked Immortal for that reason, is because there's only so much of the Satan I can take. It's good when a band like that can take something of another like topic and just, you know, make heavy ass music.
Mhm.
And that's why I've always liked Immortal for that reason, because they're not just strictly like Satan all the time. It's more like winter, forest, and
But yet they're black
snow
metal.
and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
exactly.
So dark and evil the whole time, you know?
Yeah.
It's frozen evil instead of Satan evil. Instead of hot evil,
Yeah.
it's frozen evil. Frozen evil. I've come up with a new one tonight.
Well,
Intriguing.
let me just jump in here. I'm like, because if you think about it, like Burzum doesn't mention Satan that often. Darkthrone doesn't really either.
Mhm.
It's like more like Dimmu Borgir with their first couple albums. They were like
Mm.
Satan. That is like, so the Satan isn't really that much presence really in the lyrics.
Mhm.
And I will say that about black metal. When I first got into black metal, I used to think that it was all the satanic, oh, burn down churches and stuff like that. But when I really started listening to the lyrics of black metal is when I really got into black metal, is when I started connecting with that genre a lot more,
Yeah.
because it's not all about that. It's more than just that.
Yeah.
A lot of the church burning and those impulses were more of these guys forming a subculture revolving around rejecting the fact that
Mhm.
Christianity hit up the Scandinavian countries probably
Correct.
last, I would say, in the history of Christendom's spread from Southern Europe. So I
Yeah.
think there was just as much of an impulse to just oppose Christianity as to hold up Satan. Satan's the obvious, you know,
Yeah.
buzzword around there. But yeah, you guys are absolutely right. If you think about it, you could find a lot of Norwegian black metal bands that did not, like, you know, Borknagar, Campfire. I don't
Yeah.
even think Arcturus talked about Satan very much, and Ulver. You know, they were very much more about the power of nature, the opposition to Christianity through
Yeah.
you know, broadly pagan Viking themes. So that's a good point. Well, of course.
Everybody
Something
says
you guys
Varg's
gotta
the biggest
understand in all
Satanist
this.
ever, and I can't think of a song that he's ever wrote with Satan
Yeah.
in it, really.
Well, I think Uwe, you're going to say Bathory kind of,
It's
because Bathory
something
was
that's-
real satanic
that's-
to
Yeah.
Well,
Viking themes.
he
Well,
was
there's
kind of
something
going
here.
off of Venom at the time, Quarathon.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He
In
copied.
Norway, it's a different scene because in Norway you have a state church, as in you are automatically like a people register. You're registered in the church. You have to baptism. You have confirmation. You have to do those things. You have no
Okay.
choice.
Oh,
So the
Okay.
whole black metal thing is really a expression of freedom. It's a rebellion against.
Yes. Makes sense.
Awesome.
Because you are in America don't have a state church.
Yeah.
No.
Like
I didn't know that was the case over there. Wow.
Oh, I didn't know that either. That's why we
but
needed a
it's-
guy
it's-
from Norway.
The state church is a lot weaker.
on
To
our
now.
clarify.
We need a guy from Norway on our Norwegian episodes. We're gonna call you every
So it's
time we
more
do
than-
something.
more than a total
this way.
rebellion, really. Satan is just a tool, I guess.
Get people talking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna hop over. So Ralph was another vote for Emperor, and I'm going to hop over into my center square. We're gonna finish up this episode by going to our another new guy from the Miles of Metal YouTube channel, Miles
Steve, I didn't
Bergeron.
get to go yet, just so you know.
And you,
I skipped
I'm
page
coming
3.
to see you. And then we got Nick, and then we're gonna round up with Levin and me, and then we'll kick on out of here. How's that? Could you imagine if we forgot Nick and just ended the show without talking to him? You don't think I'm that screwed up, do you? Nick,
I would hear
are you
scream
mad
out.
because I made you go
maybe not.
red? All right, so we're doing it Miles, then Nick, then Steve, and then we'll rock it. So welcome, Miles.
Oh,
All
no, no.
right. So when Mr. Keeler hit me up to talk about these two albums, when he talked about Blizzard Beast, I remember the one thing I remember about Blizzard Beast is everybody I see ranking these albums with Immortal, they completely shit on Blizzard Beast. I don't know why, because I listened to Blizzard Beast for the first time probably about 2 years ago, and I had heard the stuff of Blizzard Beast not being the best and stuff like that, and I was like, are these people listening to the same album as me? Because I really do think that this album is good. And in all honesty, I don't think any Immortal album is necessarily bad. And even though I'm saying that Blizzard Beast is a good album, if I had to rank them in order, I would probably put Blizzard Beast last in my ranking. The only reason why is because I think the rest of Immortal's albums are really good. And really, Battles in the North, Pure Holocaust, and Diabolical Full Moon Mysticism, there's few albums out there that could probably top those. So but I do like Blizzard Beast because even though the production is a little bit different than, let's just say, the ones that I really do like, I really do find it's got a attitude to it that I can't put my finger on. But when I first heard it, I was expecting it to be this bad album, and I was just like, this is aggressive. This is aggressive as shit. I was like, this is some heavy stuff. And really, the 3 songs that I would probably say are my favorite from the album are Blizzard Beast, which is the title track. I really do enjoy that song. Let's see what's on here. Battlefields is an awesome song. I'd probably put that at 2. And then Frost Demon Storm is an awesome song as well. It's a good album. I would probably rate it a 7 out of 10 in all honesty. It's not a bad album. It definitely gets a lot more hate than I think it deserves. It's still an aggressive album. It's short, and I've seen a lot of people talk about that as well. It's a very short album, but Rain and Blood is short too, and that's one of the best albums ever written. So what the hell? As far as Emperor, I'm gonna just let y'all know right now I'm picking Anthems to the let me turn this. Anthems to the Welkin at Dusk, because there's any Immortal album is not gonna beat out any Emperor album to me. I remember the first album I ever heard by Emperor was everybody's probably first is In the Night Side Eclipse. I love this album. This is my favorite Emperor album. And then when I started really getting into Emperor, the second one I heard was this one. And I was like, this sounds like a trip to hell, as chaotic as it is, but it still has that beauty to it. And
It does.
that's one thing I'm a sucker for in metal, is that if it has an atmosphere that I can find beauty in. And one of my favorite bands is Typo Negative. I know it's kind of weird to compare the two, but I feel like with the keyboards and stuff that Emperor does, I find it just so beautiful and so awesome. I'm giving Anthems a 10 out of 10, and freaking the first two Emperor albums are 10 out of 10s. Equilibrium, it is what it is. I do like that album. I don't think Emperor has
like
a
it
bad
too.
album. But picking three, the Acclamation of Bonds, that's just an awesome
Yeah.
song. That whole stretch with Enscrolled of Chaos, The Loss of Curse and Reverence, and then the Acclamation of Bonds, that whole stretch in that album, I just freaking love it. So probably my second favorite would probably be The Lost and Curse of Reverence. And then my favorite off of it is Entrance Imperium. That is just an awesome track. I mean, this whole album, it's freaking, everybody says it's their favorite Emperor album. Well, a lot of people say it's their favorite Emperor album, and it's for a reason. Mine would probably be In the Night Side Eclipse, but I would not disagree with you if you said this one was your favorite as well.
Okay.
Emperor is just an awesome band, and like I said, I like Emperor a lot more than Immortal. I have,
Yeah, there you go.
Now you're talking.
you know, this right here. Oh my God, oh Lord, I love this. And then I have Equilibrium, and the only two Emperor albums I have is this is my favorite Emperor album. If I
you mean
have to
Immortal
rank them,
That's a good album.
I mean, Immortal. My bad. I'm sorry. This is my favorite Immortal album. This would probably be number 2, and I'm working on getting the rest of them. But
Miles, you need to hear At the Heart of Winter.
Oh, I like At the Heart of Winter.
Okay,
and
heard it. Okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've heard all of Immortal's albums, but I would probably put At the Heart of Winter at number 4 if I had to rank them. And the only reason why is because the first 3 Immortal albums I ever heard was Diabolical Full Moon Mysticism, Pure Holocaust, and Battles in the North. And it's a thing with me where those first albums that got me into the band, it's hard for another album that I heard later on to take
Symptomatic values.
take over. So that's why I like those albums so much. But I'm picking Anthems at the Welkin at Dusk. That's a freaking monster album.
We're getting a landslide going here with Emperor, but thanks, Miles.
Just jump in here. It's like people are reacting on the sound and stuff, because black metal was originally made for people not to like the sound. You're not supposed to like it. It's uncivilized. It's like everyone should hate it. That was their purpose. So it's what you're saying is the purpose.
Yeah. So Nick thought we were going to forget about him and just have him show up and listen to us, but we're going to actually make Nick talk. I'm sorry we didn't make you go first, but everyone would shut the episode off if I had you on first, and then they'd leave.
I was going to say something real quick to Miles, so.
All right, you can say a quick note before we kick over to Nick. Then go ahead, Andrew.
So you show the Wrath of Tyrant demo, and that is actually my favorite all-time Emperor release.
Wrath of the Tyrant.
Yeah, but in terms of albums, Anthems is my favorite. Like, Wrath is just so nasty, so evil. Like, it's basically like a more fucked up Celtic Frost and Bathory.
I just like Wrath of the Tyrants because it sounds like Isan is singing with a mouthful of blood, and it sounds like it was
His
recorded in a
vocals on
storm
that are
drain,
fucking
and I freaking
insane.
love it. For some reason, I just love it. Just love
I
it.
especially love the end of like Lord of the Storms, where it's like going like yeah, where it's just like sounds like he's just shaking, going crazy.
Yeah, that first little screech he does in Ancient Queen, where he's like, "Rah, rah." I'm like, oh, that's what's up. That's what I'm talking about.
This
Cool.
is also back when Mortis was a bass player. Mortis was bass player back then. Mortis had a significant impact on the sound back then,
Mm.
because after Mortis is kind of like Ishan, but
Yeah,
it's the reason why Mortis kind of drifted out. But you can hear, and also in Norway, The Wanderer is the last track.
Yes.
You guys, I believe, have 2 more tracks.
On the
The
re-release.
Wanderer is
Yeah.
such a great closer.
Cool.
I love
Well,
the
that's-
atmosphere.
Let's
it's
move.
got
Let's move over to Nick, and because Nick's been waiting forever, and he's getting mad at me. I can tell he's never going to come on again.
Yeah. Right. Yes.
Well,
so-
Nicholas, let's hear your 2 cents, and then we'll go to Steve Levin, and we'll get mine. And anyway, the viewers, we did an episode last spring on the band Immortal, just talking about, I believe it was favorite albums or favorite songs. And we had Mia Winter Wallace, of course, the current bass player with Abbott and Nervosa on the episode. So you may want to reach back into our archives and check that out. And here's Nick Franco.
Ready?
Hey,
Okay.
drum roll.
All right. So yeah, all great stuff you guys are mentioning about all the backgrounds. All right. So where are we here? So between 1995, late 94 and 97 is when I got exposed to all the black metal that was going on. So a few years later, and one of the most important compilations in that journey was called Gods of Darkness, and it came out in 1997 by Nuclear Blast Records, and it had, I mean, check it out sometime. It's we can have a
remember
whole
that.
episode on how great it is.
It's a compilation.
Yeah, yep. And it was
Okay.
mostly Norwegian black metal, but it also had Cradle of Filth and Agatha Damon and a couple things there, Dissection. So one of the songs on it was something called Frost Demon Storm, all one word, by these 3 psychopathic looking characters that I had never seen before, with the snarls and the Kiss inspired dark makeup on. So my introduction to Immortal was the song Frost Demon Storm, which at that point in my musical evolution was like, holy shit, getting, really, really smacked in the head. So I loved it. As far as the album Blizzard Beasts, when you take the entire Immortal canon into consideration, I am not a huge fan of the later albums. I like the first half of Sons of Northern Darkness. Don't have much of a relationship with the one after that. I do like the Northern Chaos Gods very much. So to me, Immortal was building up to something. To me, the build up, the pinnacle of Abbott's career is At the Heart of Winter.
Yes.
And I just think compositionally, it's one of the most perfect albums I ever heard. But right before that, they did this 29-minute hyper blast, which I think they were trying to achieve the atmosphere they'd reached on Battles in the North. The production on Blizzard Beast is a little compressed for me. It's not, therefore, I mean, I'll give this one like a 7 out of 10. It is good. I would say Nebula Raven's Winter, Blizzard Beast, the title track, and then Frost Demon Storm is my favorite. Immortal just presented this fucking cold northern darkness. Is just their atmosphere has always been unquestioned, and even if the production values weren't so good or they sped up the drums or whatever, like there's almost no other band that could pull off what they were doing. Some of the timing was off and everything, but it just worked. And
it's great.
yeah, and for that, I mean, they just, they're immortal. So so that was a cool way to get into them, was from this. Now moving over to Emperor, there's a few albums that I would consider more perfect than Anthems to the Welkin at Dusk. I am going to choose that. This album would get like a 20 fuck out of 10.
20. Okay, you beat
Yeah.
Andrew's 11.
Fuck out of 10.
That's where I'm going with that. But I mean, what can I say that hasn't been already said? The Alsvarter, the Oath, what an unbelievable instrumental beginning to set up one of the greatest black metal songs ever written, ever composed by human beings. Ye in Trans Imperium. It literally has every element you could possibly want. From hyper fast drumming to like that super epic midsection with the keys and the clean vocals. I mean, cold moonlit winter night, just like go out and look up at the sky and listen to this shit. It never gets old. It never will get old. They will lay me down fucking dead, and this will still be in my ears. Hard to pick favorites. Yin Transperium is my favorite song on it, but I mean, after that, we're talking about the acclamation of bonds. I'm glad people mentioned that. There's parts of that song that I think inspired the entire career of bands like Deathspell Omega and Blue Dawson Ord. I don't have the musical acumen to I don't know what I'm trying to say in terms of the riffing, but there's something like almost backwards in the riff construction that just reminds me of that kind of crazy wing of black metal that it's probably started with these guys. They were composing at a rate far beyond their years. What can you say? Every song is just constructed with brilliance. Even when they slowed it down and got real epic, Thus Spake the Night Spirit has just got this unforgettable atmosphere to it that is just very hard for bands. A lot of bands try to recreate it. It's not easy. I think if you got them together now, I don't think they could recreate it. Actually, Ishan has no interest in doing that, as he has said many times. But that's fine. Don't do it fake if you can't do it right. But the whole thing, there is not a single weak, hesitant moment on the album. It is one for the ages. It's definitely a good starting point to get into black metal. So that's about it.
Well, it's more like a black metal opera in a way, because it's got different passages. It's like a performance. The whole
like a masterpiece.
Yeah, it really is. It is like very classical in how it's put together and how it sounds.
Yeah.
And I think too, I mean, I don't feel like I'm being, drilled with like overt Orthodox Satanism on it. I do feel like it's a mind-opening type of album. It really, it really reaches down into just something deeper. They just really struck something so unique, and I just can't imagine being there like the day this came out expecting it. Nightside Eclipse is another slice of genius, but I will say, Miles, I'll say like the first Emperor album that I really, because I heard a song from this on this Gods of Darkness as well. I should say, just to show you how I think, or am I getting my comps? Yeah, Lost and Curse of Reverence was on this. So this I heard Emperor the same time. Yeah. And I loved it, but for some reason when I was younger, I don't know, I was very much into Dimmu Borgir at that time. And I think I don't know. So the album that my friend got from Emperor was Nine Equilibrium when that came out. And I gotta say, like, I worship that album, Nine Equilibrium. I really do. Yeah, I have it on vinyl. And I know it doesn't get the same amount of respect, but it was drifting more towards
I love that album as well.
Oh yeah, I revisit that album constantly. So,
but
I think,
I always wanted to say this.
Oh,
when I watched the ranking when you did it on when you and Ryan did it on Sea of Tranquility.
Yes.
and you put
in
the Nightside Eclipse at number 3, and Ryan's face went.
I know. I know. I was like,
just thought that was so funny.
I know.
That shit is cool.
I was committing black metal suicide. No, dude, listen, you know how it is. I don't gotta, there's things that people are expected to do, but I've been into this music for so long,
Well, you like what you like. Yeah.
Really, it's with Emperor and music is subjective with everybody. So, but with Emperor, if you pick even Prometheus, which it's not my favorite, but any of these 3 albums, really, if you pick them and you would tell me that this is your favorite album by this band, I would be like, I can see why. I could totally see why.
Yep.
Prometheus is actually my second favorite Emperor
Oh,
studio
okay.
album.
We're gonna have to come back and do a whole show on just Emperor down the road. I think I might have covered it all tonight almost, but yeah, cool. So Nick, I'm gonna move over to Steve because we're running a little long on this episode, but Mr. Levin is back.
Hello, everybody. Thank
Awesome.
letting me join. Of course, it's always an honor, and of course, I always love going back and revisiting some albums that maybe I haven't listened to for a while. And lately, black metal hasn't been what I've been spinning for the most part, so it was actually kind of nice to go back and revisit these. So I'll start off with Immortal. Both these bands, I was fortunate enough to come into the whole black metal thing just as it came out. I had already had the first couple Immortal albums. I know that Ralph did way back in the day too. I think we got Pure Holocaust might have been the first one we were exposed to, and very shortly after Sons of the Northern Darkness. So I think Diabolical came out before we were able to get stuff like that. And stuff like that wasn't so easy to get. We were actually lucky that Andy worked at your store and he pulled it.
Andy Newton, man, was playing that black metal in there and driving people crazy in 1995 in Middletown, New York. People like, what the hell is this you guys are playing?
He really knew his shit, and
he did.
He had a link to Osmos Records, and like at that time, Hervé would not just send records out to anybody. He could have made more money, but he was really kind of kept it very underground, and a lot of stuff if you didn't have a link to him, you weren't getting Osmos Records unless you were getting it through a third party, which you were paying way too much at that point for. So luckily, Andy brought in a lot of that stuff and turned me onto a lot of those bands just as they came out. So with Blizzard Beast, I think it's a great album. I love it. I think it was a transition album from them. They were changing
Agreed.
slowly into what they would become later with, albums like Sons of the Northern Darkness and everything. They were getting a little bit more listenable, but Blizzard Beast by far isn't. And somebody had mentioned that back in the day, everybody hated that album, and that is true. The reviews really panned the shit out of it. A lot of people said it was the mix in it. It really doesn't have much bass. It's very trebly, high pitched. I actually love the mix on it. It's got very, very loud drums. The drums are much better on this album than they were on Sons of Northern Darkness, which you can really tell. I'm sorry, than
Blizzard or Battles in the North.
Battles of the North. Yes, I'm getting my album confused. Battles of the North, you can actually tell that the drums really do sound sped up. They really don't go with the music at some point, and it's kind of cacophony, you know what I mean? But very loud drums, super great snare sound. The snare is amazing, and I think that people like Ryan, who are familiar with the South American, the Brazilian sound, a lot of bands have that kind of snare sound, like Ravager. They do a lot of work on the snare and play off of it. So I really, really dig that. There was definitely more emphasis on songwriting on this album, I think. The voice was way in the forefront. The guitars were very crisp and overdriven, and just overall, I think it's a really good album. I really dig it, and despite what a lot of people had said during the time, I spun it quite often. So my three favorites would be Blizzard Beast. Has a nasty, almost pure Holocaust insanity to it. That riff is sick. I feel like the outro of that song, the last 30 seconds, could have been a whole nother song. It's just brilliant stuff. You're waiting for it to go into the next part, and then it just kind of disappears. So great song. I just want to throw out, even though it's not one of my three favorites, Nebula Raven's Winter. It's got that sound. Honestly, it sounds like Frostbite to me. It's so cold and so dark that it's when you listen to it, it's almost like you feel what Frostbite sounds like. If you go out, we're in upstate New York, so sometimes it snows really heavy here. When it does, I have a nice little chunk of land I can go out on. I like to put on black metal and walk out in the snow.
There you go.
This is actually one of my favorite albums to listen to. This and Nightside Eclipse was another one. They just, just great stuff. They really capture that wintry sound. My second favorite one, I would say, is Frost Demon. My God, it's just absolute six. His cadence on his voice, the way that he says the words is just so unique and it's so out there. He works great with the double bass on that song, the snare, the way the military snare on that. He does just so many little rolls and stuff, and it almost has I want to say like almost like a drum corps sound, kind of sound, the way that some of the
It's
stuff
like
he
a
does.
demon march. Like a winter
Absolutely.
demon march.
Yes, that's a great way of describing it. Absolutely, you know. But yeah, Frost Demon would be my second favorite, and my absolute favorite on that album is Battlefields. The break part's
Excellent pick.
crazy. Honestly, I was listening to it. I had to pick up my guitar and play along because sometimes music has that effect on me. When it has that effect on me, I know that it's really touching my soul. So that has always been my favorite song on this album. So going back and listening to that was great. I'm going to give this album, you know, I have to rate them a little bit different. I don't do the 9 out of 10. I give them out of 100. I'm going to give this one a 95 out of 100.
Wow.
Great album. It's not my favorite from them, but still a great album nonetheless. So jumping over to Emperor, I don't know if anybody mentioned it or not, but the big thing here was that they got a new drummer. And it was Tiram. He used to play in Enslaved. And honestly, Bard's a great drummer, but he's nowhere on this level. This guy, I mean, when he played in Enslaved, he never exhibited the kind of playing that he plays on this CD. And it really is a masterpiece. And if you focus on the drums, it blows you away.
Yeah.
And what Nick was
this more of
referring
a
to,
stabbing drummer.
yes. Absolutely, you know. But what Nick was referring to, the way that they play the riffs on this album, it almost is like a whirlwind. He does this thing where he's actually sliding up and down the neck. So like some of the riffs, he's going, he's like actually just sliding up and down the neck and playing along with the rhythm of the song. And it creates this giant atmospheric wall of sound that's just magnificent. This album has so many layers to it. You could listen to it over and over and over. You're never going to hear everything on it. I mean, to this day, I still listen to it, and I'll hear little nuances that I had never heard before.
Absolutely.
Agree, man. Totally agree.
You know, as far as symphonic black metal goes, and I'm not referring to, you know, Immortal, they have their atmospheric parts. I don't really consider them symphonic at all.
No.
But as far as the symphonic stuff goes, this is the album. This is the best one. I don't think anybody's ever topped anything. I don't think they ever topped this album. It's very grand. It's very, it's just a huge album. I love it. I would say my favorite songs on this album would be the opener, Ye Entrance Imperium. After the break, when it stops, it's going dan to dan, dan to dan. That one part there, and then he goes into that one riff, which is like that swirling kind of riff. It almost sounds like a tornado or a hurricane. Amazing.
Very whining kind of riff.
And maybe Uwe, you'll attest to what I'm saying. To me, very Arcturus sounding.
Yeah. I hear you.
You know what I mean? Like Arcturus always had that grand, like huge sound. And they're another one that's not my favorite, but there's a few songs of theirs that are just amazing. I mean, Mayhem's drumming is just so over the top.
There we go.
Let's
There's
see.
Because you got
Wow, look at that box set. Holy crap.
Hammer and
Whoa.
basically a super group.
That is nice.
Thus Spake the Night Spirit. Love that one. That's another one that has that tornado swirling riff. I really don't know how these guys, if you've ever seen them live, which I know most of us have, how Ishan is able to play these songs and sing. I have no idea, because as somebody that plays guitar, a lot of times the guys that play guitar will actually write the song so that they can sing and play easily. And in no way does his lyrics, he actually works against what he's playing. So it's crazy. Acclamation of Bonds is another favorite of mine on there. Great use of vocals. I'm gonna have to say it's my favorite on the LP. I mean, it has this reverb, this great sound to it. Just huge atmosphere. Anybody who watches this show knows that Atmosphere should be my middle name, Steve Atmosphere Levin, because you know, I just love atmosphere. And when it's done well in heavy music, it's just the best. And my favorite on this, which was actually released as a CD before the album came out, is Lost in Curse of Reverence.
Yes.
Great song. You know, what can I say? I can keep saying it's great over and over, but everybody will get tired of me saying that. I'm going to rate the album slightly higher. I'm going to give it a 97 out of 100.
Nice.
And I got this thing here. If it doesn't fall out of the frame before I get it over.
I'm gonna get something. Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's a big. So I can't get the whole thing in the picture, but
it's
Yo.
Damned in Black.
Awesome.
Damned in Black, I believe.
We had that poster at Rock Fantasy too. Or
Yep.
did I give you that one from the shop? I don't remember.
This one came from the shop, but we used to get doubles of so many promos at the time.
That was hanging on the ceiling in there for years in the old shop.
Oh,
yeah,
what?
that's
That's not the same one then.
I remember that. Yeah.
it was hanging there for years. Well, thanks,
You guys
Levin.
had that up for a long time.
I guess it's my turn to give my picks, and as we wrap this episode up, of course,
Pages. There we
what's
go.
that?
I gotta flip to page number 2 so I can see
All
it.
right, okay. So anyhow, everyone spoke about anything that I could have mentioned already tonight, but on the Immortal record, I would probably give that about a 8 of a 10. It's definitely not my favorite Immortal record. It's not one I always go and pick up and listen to out of their catalog. You can find out my favorite one by watching an episode from last year, but I'm gonna go with Nebula Raven's Winter,
Okay.
Battlefields, and Frost
Ooh.
Demon Storm for my 3 picks. As I move over to Emperor, I will say this is a nearly perfect black metal record. I agree with other people echoed in this, that saying this is the kind of like the symphonic, and it was the best one, and it started a lot of that. And I like a lot of symphonic metal too, but this was just perfectly done. And you can just listen to this over and over again, especially if you're reading the lyrics along with it, just to get this whole feel of the album. And it's been a little while since I've sat and listened to this whole album, and I've done it a lot over the weekend with some whiskey and some other things here. So a great record to just melt into the couch and listen to, I'd say. And my favorite songs from here, my number 3 would no in particular order. I like them all. I agree with what Ryan says, because I listen to albums. I don't listen to tracks. But of course, sometimes, like at my shop, I have an iPod on shuffle, so you get to hear certain songs, not just listen to the album. That's the only way that I will listen if I got something on shuffle. But my favorite songs from here was With Strength I Burn, the Ye Entrance Imperium. And since I'm allowed to cheat like everyone else, I will throw the first track in to combine them to go together. And I would say my favorite song is The Loss and Curse of Reverence. And the video from that is amazing. I can remember playing that at so many drinking parties at my house, and I put on that Emperor video, and it's just so intense. Like, it's an intense album. It's well done. It's got so many things to listen to. I will go with Emperor 2. I'm glad Ove came on and stuck up for Blizzard Beast. And Blizzard Beast did not get beaten bad on this poll, because everyone ranked it within a very close number to this album. But in all justice, they're 2 classic albums that are reaching their 25th birthdays in the year 2022. Where did the time go?
We should
And
do the 30th anniversary episode too, because 1992, for 30 years ago, you had Bursum first album, Blazing Northern Sky, Diabolical Full Moon, System Wrath of the Tyrant.
Yeah.
Like 1992.
great
It's
ideas.
like a really black metal episode.
Nice.
We're gonna have to make you stay up late a couple more nights, it looks like, in the coming year, Ove, and join us for some of those great ideas. But I'd like to thank everyone tonight for hopping on the Rock Fantasy Files. All our new folks here, Andrew and Miles.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for invitation.
My good friend Nick and Ryan from Hudson Valley Squares, Sea of Tranquility, and my own Steve Levin and Count Ralphus from the Rock Fantasy Files. We'll be back next week. We'll be going to keeping up with our anniversary albums and talking about some episodes that we've got set up. And please take a moment and mention your favorite tracks from these albums and your favorite, and any other things you'd like to put into the comments. And we will have links to our new friends. You can check out their products too if you'd like. So for everyone, stay heavy, rock on. It's Rock Fantasy on YouTube. Hey, I've got that Abbott. I got an Abbott mask. I met Abbott a couple of years ago when he was solo in the city. I also did an Immortal.
He has the same name almost as me.
Yeah, I have
Abbott's name is Ulve. It's basically the same as mine, except he has an L in it.
And what's Ryan Scow's last name mean in Norwegian? Ove, just for
It's
just for our
He's
viewers
of the
to find out.
forest.
Forest.
Forest, yeah. I've heard that for years. It means woods, forest. Yeah.
Now on
Yep,
Monday
yep.
nights, we can always call them, hey,
Run, Forest, run.
run, Forest, run. All right, we've got a new nickname here. All right.
Hasta
So
luego,
thanks,
Luciano.
everyone. And thanks for hopping on tonight with us, and have a good week.